So Andrew Schulz and Flagrant are having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that they supported a man who's covered up the Epstein files, Donald Trump. Now they're trying to completely reject any and all accountability, and they're claiming this is the opposite of everything they voted for. Watch.
People that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. Yeah. I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back.
This is the reason why I'm very, very, very tired of the current state of political discourse. I really, really long for the days of boring politics. I really do. Because Andrew Schulz, honest to God, will sit there and pretend like he doesn't trust the government, doesn't trust politicians are liars. But understand and realize when conservative commentators and comedians say like this, what they mean is Democrats are liars, liberals are liars, progressives are liars. They can't be trusted. They're duplicitous. But our Lord and Savior Trump, he would never lie. Donald Trump ran up the deficit the last time he cursed the White House. Donald Trump flew Netanyahu out to his house in Mar-a-Lago. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris refused to even be seen with Netanyahu. All the signs were there that Donald Trump was going to continue warfare and destruction. The Ukraine conversation is so insane. To even unpack that on the right wing is massive. Because they're convinced that all wars are bad and defending those who are defenseless is bad. MAGA is completely morally bankrupt now. But for Andrew Schulz to sit there and say he's doing the opposite of everything I voted for, no, he's not. You listened to what he said. You didn't pay attention to what he does. That's what you did. You, like everyone else, saw the mass deportation signs after he got shot at his rally. You saw this man sit there and say, I don't know if I'll release the Epstein files. There's a lot of phony stuff in it. You all sat there and watched this man fly Netanyahu out to his house. You watched him sit there and say they need to finish the job in Gaza. You watched him do it all. Now you want to sit back when it no longer looks cool to support Trump and say, I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. Y'all are not little kids in kindergarten, first grade, but y'all are grown-ass adults, my nigga. You're not a first-time voter straight out of school. You're a grown-ass adult with an established career, and yes, you did vote for this. I am tired of the Republican Party being held to no standard. For some reason, when the Republicans actually do something and when they're in power, mostly evil, people just forget. They brainwash themselves into this populist fantasy of anti-establishment revolution in which the American people will be put first. We're promising an America First agenda. Why? How? By leaving Ukrainians to die? That's your America First agenda? And look how that manifested. They stopped sending weapons to Ukraine for months and did what? Siphoned money away from the American people. Toward whom? The rich and the powerful. The rich and the powerful. Y'all got hoodwinked. But see, Andrew Schulz's commentary on this gets worse. Watch.
This guy's a monster, he's not a human being, then we humanize him. That's what he keeps saying.
Let's game theory this, Akash.
Yeah.
Okay, we are so powerful and influential by simply sitting down with him.
Yeah.
Right? We made him president.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one would think that if we are disillusioned by some of the things that he is doing as president, and we're upset that that same influence might be able to make someone else president. So shouldn't you be embracing this massive influence?
Yeah, come to our side.
Claim we have.
You guys do have massive influence, though. As you spoke about extensively with Charlemagne, Andrew Schulz went on a rant about how, like, Kamala Harris dodged this podcast and that podcast. And to be fair, she did, and for understandable reasons. If you are a left-wing establishment politician, you can't just go on Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn. You must prepare for a debate. Did you guys know when Pete Buttigieg went on Flagrant, he didn't just go. He told them, hey, I need time to prepare for this. Because he knew if I go on here as an establishment Democrat, I'm going to be bombarded with questions. I'm going to get pressed. I'm going to get laughed at, made fun of. I need to be ready to counteract everything these guys bring up. It's different when you're Donald Trump or you're a Republican. When you go on, it's vibes, it's fun, it's America first, it's anti-establishment, it's counterculture. When you are a Democrat, be it liberal, progressive, you must prepare for warfare when you go on these podcasts. You can laugh if you want, but it's true. These podcasters are more likely to press a Democrat than a Republican. They're more likely to press a Democratic politician than Donald Trump. We know it's true. Especially because Donald Trump specializes in victim mentality. I'm being treated so unfairly. It was so nasty what you asked me on that podcast. Disgusting. It could have been a perfectly reasonable, normal question. Donald Trump will frame it as you being in on this conspiracy against him, and his supporters will eat it up. Joe Rogan only had to endorse RFK for Donald Trump to go on social media and curse him out. Joe Rogan didn't sit there and think, wow, isn't it crazy how Donald Trump just lashed out at me for not choosing him, but Biden and Harris have said nothing? Isn't it crazy how Trump is lashing out at me and Harris and Walz have said nothing? Wow. Instead, he somehow sees the silver line in someone who clearly is lacking in a moral compass and proper composure and decorum for a president. Joe Rogan chose to look past that. Now they all want to sit there and say, wow. Somehow, they're bewildered that the man who was completely bereft of any morality, any dignity, any class is acting like a jackass. These niggas, bro, Joe Rogan, Andrew Schulz, bro, fuck these niggas, bro. They're pretending to not know what's going on. I'll say this. Andrew Schulz is correct, and he's also wrong. I'm a very practical liberal. I firmly believe in victory first, everything else later. We win first, then we start getting everything settled out later. I don't believe in prioritizing ethics and optics 100% over victory because, frankly, our rights are on the line. Okay, we have to fight. We need to be going on these podcasts, and although it's unfair that we have to prepare for basically a debate, we have to do it. Because we're going to continue to lose to people like Trump and Epstein, Trump and Elon and the like. We're going to keep losing to them if we don't show up, if we don't make our faces seen, make our voices heard. Right-wingers are making the rounds on all these podcasts for years. We have years of catching up to do, years of it. It's best we start now. My thing about where Andrew Schulz is wrong is Andrew Schulz is trying to wash his hands completely clean of everything he co-signed. No, you co-signed all of this, and it's not like you didn't know. People warned you about Trump. You ignored it. You chose not to listen. There is zero introspection being done by Andrew Schulz, zero accountability, zero, man, what made us fall for this? Honestly, I'm not going to lie. Trump was like this the first time. None of that. It's all, well, let's wash our hands of this, pretend like we didn't support it because Trump is now withholding the Epstein files. This is a really, really easy squiggle-like wiggle out. And my problem with Andrew Schulz is, Andrew, you and your team weren't off the Trump train when he passed the big, beautiful bill and deprived millions of Americans of health care and food access. You weren't off the Trump train when he was disappearing people for writing op-eds about Israel. You weren't off the Trump train when he was basically trying to declare himself a king and trying to overrule the powers of the Supreme Court. You weren't anti-Trump when the tariffs were projected to destroy the economy. None of these things made you jump off the ship, even combined. You only jumped off when the Epstein conversation came up. That's easy. Anybody can sit there and say that diddling is wrong, because it is. That's not an accomplishment. If it takes everyone being fucked over and then the Epstein, if it takes the Epstein file situation for you to say, maybe this is bad. Bro, do you see the amount of damage it occurred in the wake of Trump and Elon and all of that up till now? Tens of thousands of Americans fired from their federal jobs and barely any money saved. It was a lie. Doge was a lie. You all supported the disenfranchisement of millions of Americans, and you're not even pretending to give a fuck. And now you're trying to hide behind the Epstein shield of, oh man, can't be seen supporting this. What about everything else leading up to this moment? Do you feel like any of that was bad? Why does it take an apocalyptic moment like this for you to say, oh, maybe we made a mistake? If it takes apocalyptic scenarios for you to suspend your delusions, this nation can never grow. And this is how right-wingers behave every time they're wrong. It's not, damn, what was wrong about what we thought and how do we stop this from happening again? It's, let's just stop talking about this. Let's stop talking about how we helped make this happen. Let's not take accountability for everything. And liberals and leftists welcome us into the movement against Trump. It's like, no. Can we agree that the policies he campaigned on and what he did was wrong? Do we agree that these are policies that the Republican Party consistently runs on and enacts? Because these things are true, and politics is not an entertainment game, it is real life. And if it takes apocalyptic scenarios for you to back off, trust me, Epstein is one of many. The economy is still projected to be in horrible shape when these tariffs are over. There is all sorts of mayhem waiting for us at the end of this 4-year marathon of fuckery. So trust and believe and understand that there's definitely a lot more, there's a lot worse to come here. And my problem with Andrew Schulz and the like is the absolute fear of accountability and the gaslighting of the left, pretending like we are the jackasses for saying, hey, maybe there's something morally wrong with what you did, and hey, do you want to at least try to point out where you might have went wrong? You want to point out what's wrong with their political party? No, you just want to be able to run over here with your hands clean? Like, come on now. It's absolutely ridiculous. So as far as I'm concerned, Andrew Schulz and company are not actually interested in what's best for the country. They're simply going with wherever the wind blows. Donald Trump obviously was going to do all of these things, especially in the wake of him trying to outrun prison time for January 6th. It was obvious to anyone who was paying attention that this was going to happen. So for them to sit there and pretend like the left wing are being dickheads, what about Trump and friends? Are you going to rail against them the way you're railing against the left? Come on now, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
What's up, everybody? Apparently we ruined America. You know,
Nice.
We were trying to hold the person in power, President Trump, accountable for not fulfilling some of his promises, and that was foolish, man.
Nah, you're an idiot,
That
dude.
was
You're
a
bad
foolish
person.
thing to do. Once you vote for somebody, no matter what they do, even if it's the exact opposite of what they say they're going to do, you just ride that until the wheels fall off.
Yes, double
Right?
down.
Exactly.
Always double down.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's right on some level, right? You gotta give former MAGAs room to say, you know what, we were wrong. You do. I don't care what anyone tells you, you do. I'm sorry, the left is not violent enough, and the left is not aggressive enough to play a winner takes all kind of strategy. Y'all are not that violent. So let's not even play the game of like, Republicans have to pay. What are you gonna do to, like, come on. Unfortunately, yes, we are going to have to team up with former MAGAs. But I will say this though. My big issue with the whole situation here is that Andrew Schulz and friends are sitting there saying, oh man, well, you know, somehow it's wrong for us to critique the guy, who we voted for and try to hold him accountable. Nigga, the fact that you're on camera saying you're trying to hold Donald Trump accountable goes to show you were never paying attention. You have no idea what's, like, you literally do not know what is going on. You are in your own little world, you are in your own little realm, and you have absolutely no idea of what the fuck is going on. The immunity ruling, if anyone actually read it, should have been the end of anyone thinking Donald Trump would ever think he could ever be held accountable ever. He's never held accountable by his supporters. He's never held accountable by his base, by his Republican stooges. He's never held accountable by anyone. And to think that in the wake of the Supreme Court giving him immunity for staging and engaging in insurrection, you thought you were going to hold him accountable? The problem is you supported this man with your platform, not understanding the severity of what you were supporting. Andrew Schulz is right. We do need to understand the power of platforms like his, and we do need to give people who feel like they don't want to be on the Trump train anymore, we do need to give them room to say, hey, we're off the Trump train. The problem is y'all don't seem to want to actually, like, look into what the fuck is wrong with Republican conservative ideology. You actually seem to want to just wash your hands the moment the Epstein situation goes awry and pretend like, oh man, well, you know, you guys are actually assholes for getting on our case about what we did support. Let us in. It's like, wait. Do you not think anything was wrong with what they did? Like, the Epstein stuff is easy to condemn. Anything else was wrong? What do you think should be done to Trump in the event that he, you know, I don't know, like violates the Constitution for the 100th time? Like, what do you think? Like, these people, they just want to be able to ride the wave. They just want to be able to ride the wave. And I get it. Politics is fun. It's engaging because of Trump. But this is real life. People are dying. People are losing their livelihoods. And we have to give a bigger fuck than just platforms and entertainment. But frankly, I feel like Andrew Schulz is just running away from accountability. I really do. I really do believe that. And I really sincerely hope that comedians just start backing away from politics for a while, because it's not an earnest, honest, legitimately compassionate engaging in politics. It's childish. It's heavily based on entertainment. It's not a legitimate attempt at trying to understand. Whether it's Dave Smith, Joe Rogan, Schulz, all of these people are unserious. They don't actually care about the damage they're doing. They're still to this very day claiming that Trump, 6 months into like, I don't know, like manifesting his destiny as the Antichrist, is still somehow better than Kamala. Like, these niggas are not paying attention at all. They will never, ever, ever admit that they made the wrong choice. Just ask them, do you think Kamala Harris would have been better? They'll say no. If you ask them what her policies were, they'll say, I don't know. She didn't have any. She did. They just didn't look. These people aren't serious. They don't care. They don't care. And that's the reason why a lot of liberals and leftists are bitchy about, you know, Andrew Schulz. And on some level, again, I'll say Andrew Schulz is right. From a cold, calculated perspective, you must work with these platforms. You got to talk to people. You cannot pretend like you're above the bullshit. Democrats tried that strategy for 10 years and got their ass whooped by a felon and a member of the diddler duo, Trump. He's one half of the duo. The other duo died in 2019, but we got our asses whooped by a diddler and Elon Musk because we didn't utilize the proper strategy of engaging in media. We paid the price. But watching comedians duck and dodge accountability is absolutely entertaining. Watching Dave Smith backtrack from saying he wanted Trump to be impeached, like 2 or 3 days later, totally predictable, by the way. These are not people with morals. These are people with an interest in being popular and liked. That's the reality of it. That's the truth of it.